A very good evening to you. An hour of sporting chat, or nearly, as ever on Sheffield Live TV, talking Sheffield Sport on a Thursday night. Don't want to put you off, but we've got a couple of very serious subjects on the agenda this evening. The current plight of Sheffield United. We have a former Sheffield United player who's a regular at Bramall Lane to discuss that with us. And even more seriously, looking across the breadth of football in general, an issue rearing its ugly head again, abuse of referees, not so much in the professional game, but at grassroots level, the exposed nature of the job for officials on Sunday Park's pitches. We have Paul Cooper, the president of Sheffield Referees Association, with us. Paul was chairman previously. He's an official of that organisation, but still an active referee after 12 years. And I know that he has one or two harrowing tales for us from the touchline. And really, it makes you wonder why anybody chooses to referee. But the aim of the game is to encourage more people, men and women, to take up the whistle and to take up the flag. And so the kind of stories that Paul will relate to us tonight are really essential for the well-being of the game. And I know one or two of them well because it's been a campaigning issue for youaretheref.com. I work closely on that, as some of you may well know, with former officials, top officials, Keith Hackett, Mark Halsey, Roger Dilks, etc. And that has been one of the issues for us. And we've had lots of harrowing tales coming into our website, youaretheref.com. Do check those out after the show this evening. And Tom Cowan, second-time guest. Good to see you back, Tom, former Sheffield United left-back from Dave Bassett days.
Yeah, I go up down Sheffield United every home game. It's not looking good at the moment.
No, it certainly isn't. We'll come to that in a moment. You're going to be there Saturday, Port Vale?
Yes, I will be, yeah.
And so will I, covering that game. But just a moment of light relief. Former Blade, life, Paul, you know, you may be a bit depressed at the moment. It's not all gloom because you support
Sheffield Wednesday.
Okay, so that keeps you going at the moment.
See the smile.
Yeah, I can see the smile. We'll come to Paul's tales from the touchline, but just a word about the Blades. I'm just thinking, I remember the relegation to the old 4th Division around about 1980. But I'm wondering, and I also remember when Adrian Heath's time there, when things were at a low, but I'm wondering, apart from those two, whether things have ever been at a lower ebb.
Yeah, it's a bit strange recently. I think the worst decision that the board made was getting rid of Clough, because he'd done exceptionally well the previous season, getting to the semi-final, League Cup, and basically reaching the playoffs. And we just look as if we're squandering in mid-table at the moment and not really looking as if we're going to do much.
Yeah, the Nigel Clough decision could come back to bite them, but not only that, he's one of a long line of managers who've been appointed and fired quite quickly. Yeah,
it seems to be, well, this year alone, I think 42 or 43 managers have left their posts in the Football League, which is ridiculous, really, isn't it? No one's giving them any time at all anymore. People need time to build some kind of structure at a football club, and managers don't get it anymore.
No, and Nigel Atkins, ridiculously, is the longest-serving manager in this region after 8 months. But clearly, people do fear for him now. He's under some pressure from the supporters, whether it's internal pressure, I've no idea. But you can only fear for a manager based on Sheffield United's record with those matters.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's to do with results, isn't it? And it always comes down to the results. He'll be fearful himself without saying it.
You can see it, you can see it in his face.
See it. And that's the thing. You maybe know that this next game against Port Vale tomorrow might be a cringe game for him. It might be the deciding factor in his future.
You actually think it's that important? Saturday's game?
Saturday, sorry.
Yeah. It's all right, you're a day ahead. Yeah. It's usually me. Yeah, because not least it's symbolic. Losing to Bury should never happen. They lost twice to Bury this season. Port Vale, a team that United should be outstripping, are actually on the same number of points. Rob Page, a former Blades player who you'll know, doing an excellent job there, the reverse of the coin, overachieving.
Yeah, their budget is minuscule compared to Sheffield United's budget. Player-wise, I couldn't name any Port Vale's players, and yet they're doing the exact same as what Sheffield United are doing, but Sheffield United seem to be in free fall, whereas Port Vale are going on the way up. It's a terrible situation to be in, because Sheffield United should really be challenging, the same as Sheffield Wednesday are, really, to be getting back into the Premier League, but they're just squandering in League One at the moment, and it's desperate times at the moment.
Now, you use that term, desperate times. You're a measured man. I mean, you know the full perspective. You're a firefighter by day, yes. Okay? So you know what's really important in life, and it can be life and death. You're also a stats man, a cold stats man on a Saturday. You help compile the stats, don't you? Number of free kicks, passes, etc.
Yeah, I work for Opta on the Saturday do the Sheffield United games, and they just seem to be leaking goals. Every home game they seem to give away a goal early on, and it's everything seems fine. They're playing quite well. They've maybe had a few attacks, and then all of a sudden it's like a sucker punch where they just give away a silly goal. And I think it all comes down to defending properly. And I think that's what a lot of people will say. The Sheffield United teams of the past 3 or 4 years, and the managers that they've always tried to play football, get it down, even at the back. Whereas maybe fans, myself included, will say, why don't you get the back four set up first to defend properly? Don't have it, don't bring it down, just get rid of it. Play your football from midfield forward. I know it's the old Bassett way saying, oh, it might be a long ball tactic. It's not a long ball tactic, it's defending your goal properly. But a lot of people might say it's a long ball, but it's certainly not if the midfield get it, and then you can play football from there. You can play football from the midfield, but just try not to play too much in your back four. Spoken
like a true defender. You were left back in a very successful team under Dave Bassett, as you mentioned there. That was direct football, and certainly I floated it in the Sheffield Telegraph last week. Just poses a question: are Sheffield United, like a lot of teams in my view, falling into that trap at the moment, that cultural trap of thinking we've got to get the ball down and pass it from the back and across, but why not get it forward quicker?
It's League One. Yeah. It's not Championship level, it's not Premier League level, where you do need to do that and you need to try and compete against the good footballing teams. It's League One, and that's when you need big, strong characters, big, strong footballers that are going to fight for every bit. Anything really, like tackling, heading. They really need to be strong in this league, and it just seems as if we're lacking in many areas in that department.
We're talking of big, strong characters. You need to be that to be a referee, or a linesman, or an assistant referee, as they call them now. Yeah. So we'll go over here to Paul Cooper after I've mentioned that in the second half of the show I'll be chatting briefly by telephone to Sheffield's three times former world squash champion Nick Matthew, who's launching his academy as we speak at the Hallamshire Tennis and Squash Club. Very exciting project, discussing that with Nick, and also one of his pet subjects, Sheffield Wednesday, which is one of yours as well. Yeah, Paul, before we get down to the serious stuff, are you a regular at Hillsborough?
Unfortunately, no.
You're always refereeing?
I'm always refereeing, yeah. So Saturday afternoon, Saturday morning, Saturday afternoon, Sunday morning, I'm always refereeing. There was a time I had a season ticket for 20 odd years at Hillsborough, but I got the refereeing bug, and that took over.
Right, so we will go back to Blades, because it's a serious subject at the moment, and sort of compare the two halves of Sheffield with Tom Cowan. But 12 years a referee, age 46, if you don't mind me mentioning that.
Not mine.
President of Sheffield Referees Association. How many members have you got, by the way?
We've got about 60 members. 60?
OK, maybe that should be more, because there's more than 60 guys and girls refereeing.
There's probably 1,000, 1,100 referees across the county association, and that is divvied up by other associations. Also, you've got Rotherham Referees Association, Doncaster, Worksop, Mexborough, South Emsall. So it's a geographic spread across the area, and then there are a number of people who don't get involved with the referee association. They'll just go out on a Sunday morning or a Saturday afternoon and referee on their own.
But it's important to keep your spirits up, confide and cry on each other's shoulders at times, I would have thought, because you've had some harrowing experiences lately, and you're an experienced referee. Just give us an example, because you nearly quit, didn't you? You were thinking of...
yeah, the last 3 weeks, I refereed a game nearly 4 or 5 weeks ago, and the game didn't end very well for me, to be fair. I had to dismiss a player in the 80th minute of a game for foul and abusive language and adopting an aggressive attitude. And as he was leaving the field of play, he turned around to me and then came to me and aggressively fronted me up and said he'd see me in the car park after for a little bit of argy-bargy, as they say. So I asked him to leave the field, but then the problem was then that because I'd dismissed the player, we had then had spectators coming on the field, arguing with the home team players to deal with trying to move spectators away off the field of play. And again, I was fronted up by a spectator saying to me, I can't tell him what to do, I can't tell him what to go, where to go, but rather aggressively and using, inappropriate foul language, which I couldn't repeat now. We managed to move the spectators off the field of play. We ended the game. At the end of the game, I was then confronted by another spectator who was in my face, active aggressively, and I tried to move away from that individual, but he then followed me. And luckily, if it wasn't for the home team manager who came across to actually shake my hand to congratulate me because he thought I'd had a good game, if it wasn't for him, I don't know how I might have moved away from that situation. But the home team manager came across, and I moved away from the field with him.
And you were able to go home unscathed. None of these threats were carried through.
No, none of the threats were carried through.
That's not the point, though, is it?
No.
It must be quite frightening for anybody. You're a fairly big guy. Don't know if that comes across on the screen there, but he's, he's not a little guy. Is Paul Cooper?
No, no, I'm not. I'm sort of, I'm 46. I've got a presence about me on a football field. So for myself and the knowledge that I've got, I did the best that I could to handle the situation that happened at the time. Obviously, if you've got a younger referee who are taking part of these games, who are 18, 19 years old of age, and a lot of young referees coming through, there's an expectation of them of a level of fitness, there's an expectation of stature. Maybe how would those individuals have dealt with that situation?
They couldn't possibly have been mature and strong enough to handle what you handled as a 46-year-old, which is the worry. And it's all, the concern as well seems to be it's an organised intimidation of a referee. Do you find that as ongoing through a game?
That does happen in games. I'm very clear with players before we actually start a game that I want to see them passing the ball, I want to see them playing football, because that's what I don't want them to see them having fun. That's what they're there to, what they're there to do. But obviously, you'll get teams who are more aggressive in their form of play, and we've got the tools of the game as a referee to be able to handle that and manage players, use the team captains wherever we can to calm situations down, rather than go to show cards early on in games, which can cause you problems. If you show them early, then you've got to keep showing them, so you could end up with players leaving the field.
What do you make of all this, Tom, listening to this? Because you operated in the professional game, and it strikes me that things are a little bit more clamped down on there now. There's a microscope on the game so great. What do you think?
Yeah, I think there's a lack of respect in Sunday League and Saturdays as well. From it's more like the middle-aged man, isn't it, than anything else. When they've been brought up in yesteryear of football, when you're allowed to shout at referees, and there was that sort of, it was like a culture of having a go at the referee every time a decision went against you. Not the wrong decision went against you. And it seems to be it's getting worse and worse. And I don't see why they don't try, even at that level, just at that level, to try like a pilot project to try and do it like the rugby league or rugby union, where it's a total respect for the referee and use sin bins. Because it'd be a good place to start it, I think.
It's a great idea. Would it work in practice, though? Because what we've got to get across here, you're unprotected here as a match official. You're on your own. 22 blokes, spectators, managers and coaches maybe not helping. could you manage a situation where every 10 or 15 minutes you might be sending a player to a sin bin?
It's a valid point that you bring up, Tom, and I know that it's been mooted around to do that, but it's one extra thing that the referee is going to have to do. Now, maybe that's all right in the glossary of the Premier League and the Championship, where you've got 3 officials, a 4th official, who could sort of manage that. But again, if you're a Sunday League referee on your own, managing 22 players, is that something else that you've got enough on your hands as it is?
It just strikes me it would spark even more aggression towards the referee.
Yeah.
If you were regularly dispatching somebody off the field.
Off the field, yeah.
In the pro game, it's different.
Yes.
It can be sort of, the referees are more protected there. You're not going to get somebody come up and, all being well, attack the referee.
Well, I think the FA have been making massive strides with junior football as well. Like having the spectators, I think it's 10 metres away from the pitch.
It's 5 metres away from the pitch, so you've got the respect barriers.
Yeah, you get all them, which is brilliant for that age group, but it just seems to be that Sunday League football, that middle-aged man, that seems to be causing the problem.
Yeah. I mean, of course, you on the field, you very rarely incurred a yellow card or a red, did you?
No, I don't think I ever did. I think there was loads of yellows and I think there were 4 or 5 reds in my
just
career.
the 4 or 5 reds?
Yeah. And
Was that ever for abuse?
No, never for abusing the referee. That was one of the things that I always tried to do when we were going out onto the pitch, was try and talk to the referee, because if you try and talk to the referee, then you'll sort of semi-respect that you're actually trying to make a conversation with him, and you might get away with that first foul.
Yeah. And you grew up in a hard school in Scotland, played for Glasgow Rangers.
It was pretty hard. But then coming down to Sheffield United as well, into the sort of inauguration of the Premier League, it was pretty difficult. But see, I didn't manage to pick up too many cards for letting out other than fouls. I think one was for a attempted headbutt, but I didn't actually headbutt the person. Yeah, no.
Right, you missed.
I think I was just aggressively shouting at the person, but he went down holding his face.
I mean, as a referee, you go onto the field of play and you're there. I don't mind constructive criticism, and I think a lot of referees won't mind a certain amount of criticism. But when the problem starts to occur is that when you give the decision on a field of play, somebody just disagrees with it just because they think that they have to. And then what happens then is that then snowballs, and then you might give a penalty, and that makes the that makes the game, it makes that bit bigger. So it's difficult. It's difficult that I don't think referees should be there to take the amount of verbal abuse that they do. Now, some people, people will turn around to me listening to this or watching this saying, "Well, why don't you send them off?" No, we can send them off. We can send them off. We can dismiss them from the field. But if I dismissed everybody from the field of play on a Sunday morning who swore at me, I wouldn't finish many games. No. So you've got your industrial language that they use, and their language because of frustration. But obviously when it starts getting personal, it's directed at players and your own teammates and a referee, then you have to step in. And
indeed. Well, in the second part, we'll go on to touchline behaviour, because managers and coaches have got a duty to manage these guys who are making your life hell, and they're not doing it. And we'll look at that. To balance, I've had 2 or 3 tweets from the Sheffield and District Junior Sunday League this week, correctly highlighting that with the kids, they're getting plenty of referees reporting that conduct has been excellent, and they're getting plenty of good messages in support of referees as well. So that has to be stated. And at that level, maybe a difference is being made, but maybe higher, the men's game, Sunday League, the respect campaign needs looking at again, the FA's respect campaign. More on Sheffield United and Sheffield Wednesday in the second part of the programme. There's no James Gregg. I'm going to have to be James Gregg and drop 30 years off me to bring a sort of roundup. Sheffield FC and Hallam both get mentions. Big games for them over the weekend. We'll see you in about 5 minutes. Time for a cuppa. Look forward to you rejoining us. See you then. Bye.